What's going on, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to StarChasers Girls Talk Ball. As you know, it's your girl, Craven Cowboys. As always, I got my girl Star in the building holding it down with me. And as you guys can see, we have a very, very special guest on here with us tonight, Miss Jess Nevarez from DallasCowboys.com. How you guys doing tonight?
Go first, Jess.
I was gonna say, I get to hang out with like two of the coolest ladies ever from Twitter. Like, what else could I want to be doing? Like, I'm fantastic. I look forward to this all day. Like, I literally woke up and I was like, tonight's podcast night. Let's go.
And we really appreciate you coming on with us. How you doing tonight, Star? I don't know if I got a chance to ask you. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. Glad to have Miss Jess with us. Obviously, guys, this was one of our surprises. You know, we're trying to connect, with guys from, as y'all know, we had like Nick Harris about a couple of weeks ago. And so we are blessed today with Jess's presence. And so hopefully, we can get into some things about these Dallas Cowboys, because we did just have our first preseason game. So, there's lots to discuss from that. Just happy to be here. Y'all know, when y'all come in, please like the video. Please like the video. Yes. Please share the video.
Right now.
Yep.
Right now. Exactly. And please subscribe, because all of that is 100% free. It takes like 5 seconds. So please help us out, because the more you like the video, then the more YouTube pushes it out to the algorithm and more people get to see our content. So please help us out with that.
Right now.
Right. Yeah. Everything Star just said, multiply that times 3, what I'm saying, for all of us. I'm saying, hit the like, the share, everything. Thank you for joining us this evening. And like she said, we want to, wanted to bring some really great things to the show, some great surprises to the platform. And as you guys know, from the beginning, shout out to West Coast Cowboys who got us together. We wanted to uplift, women's voices in sports. And if you guys know throughout my shows, Star shows, we always mention Girls Talk Boys Talk. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it was, kind of just an inspiration for our name as well. And just seeing her face on the platform, listening to her voice. Also, shout out to Miss Aisha Morrison, Miss Christy.
Yeah, shout out to Aisha.
Everybody that's coming through. And even the new young lady on there, Miss Bonnie
Jill Laughlin.
Bonnie Jill. Shout out to her as well. A new face on the show. I really love you guys' show. If you could, just to kind of kick off just some icebreaker questions, if you could, can you just let us know how Girls Talk Boys Talk kind of came about? Because we know you guys are relatively new. A couple years ago, I think you guys were breaking records as one of the most watched Cowboys podcasts. You know what I'm saying? How was it being on that show, and how was it just being in that environment with just so many women's voices, just kind of uplifting the Cowboys community itself?
Oh, yeah. I love the story because it kind of came together so quickly. So we're going on our 3rd season already, which is insane. Like, I cannot believe we're going into season 3. Yeah. But it kind of started as a project with Derek Eagleton coming to Jane Slater saying, hey, I really want to do an all-girls podcast. We don't have that. Jane kind of put out a filler for people, because at the time it was going to be Jane Slater, Kelsey Charles, and then they needed 2 other people. So Jane kind of put something out on social media to say, hey, does anybody know somebody who can podcast and then talk about the Cowboys, like very knowledgeable on top of that. And so at the time I was working with Blogging the Boys. And RJ Ochoa, who's the sweetest angel, was so sweet to send my information to Jane. And then on the other side of it, Kelsey was also working with Blogging the Boys, sent my information to Derek. So then Derek calls me. And Derek's like, it was so surreal to see like Derek's name pop up on my phone, because I really just started podcasting for fun. And like I grew up a Cowboys fan, right? So it's like I listened to the podcast. I would read like Nick Eatman's stuff. And so to be in the same room as these people was just so surreal at first. And so that's kind of how it got started. And then from there, it was Aisha and I that got picked to be those lucky 2. And it was like, one second I'm getting a call from Derek, the next, like, we're on live. And so the first time, Aisha and I always laugh about this story, because the first time we were on the podcast, our first episode, everybody's together, was my first time going to the Star. So I'm here like, oh my gosh, this is insane. What's going on? I'm trying to like keep it together. Aisha is just like, she handles nerves so much differently than I do. And so she was just like, what's your problem? Like,
She is so
Oh
she
no,
seems
not her
so like,
doing that to
down
So
to
you.
cut
earth.
and
She
dry
just
when
straight to
she
the
like
point.
well, and when she doesn't know you at first, like she's
Yeah.
very like, like what is going on with her?
Right.
And so it was so funny. So I'm just like, girl, how are you not freaking out? And she's like, I mean, I am kind of, but like not like you. Like,
Right.
and so
I'm
then
not showing it though. She said,
like one of the buttons on her shirt ends up popping off. And so I'm here like stapling her shirt, like doing
Oh my
what's
god.
going on. It was
oh
like
wow.
and so
Wow.
to start from that's our first day,
Oh my god.
Right.
it's just so fun. And so now obviously we've transitioned. We've had some people like in and out of the podcast throughout the years, which is the
Yeah.
whole point of the podcast, is to get more like very strong minded football women in there, because
Mhm.
unfortunately we have a stigma as women in sports is we're dumb, we're the diverse hires, we don't know what we're talking about. I mean, it goes on and on and on to
Yeah.
the excuses and the misogyny that follow women in sports without people even realizing it. And so we wanted to fight that and, have more faces on our podcast. And now it's Nicole, Christy, Aisha, myself, Bonnie, Jill, who's a new
Yeah.
addition, and there will be some more, but I can't say anything yet. Just know it'll come
Okay.
soon.
Oh wow. Wow.
So
Yeah, I remember the I don't mean to cut you off. I remember the young lady who was on there last year, I think working as an intern, working with you guys and just
yeah.
kind of getting her start too. So I was just like, wow. So there, not only are you guys, doing, a show every week or every other day, you guys are also welcoming in younger voices, bringing in younger women who also start their career off with you guys. I thought that was really admirable.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. No, we love it. Anytime we can get people experience, because it is intimidating and it's hard,
Yeah.
especially in all things Cowboys. It's so saturated. It's such a man-filled room. And so,
Yeah.
what we really like to emphasize is like, you create your own seat. You deserve that seat. That seat is yours. Do not let anybody ever make you feel otherwise, because there's a lot
Yeah.
of people, especially with Cowboys fans, like, no offense, y'all are kind of mean sometimes. Like, y'all be the first people
Sometimes.
to be
Right,
like,
Star. Right.
but like they'll be the first ones to just like, they don't like a take you have and call you out on it. And it's not even
Yep.
just it's not even fighting your take. It's kind of fighting your knowledge. And it's like, well,
Right.
you're only doing that because I'm a woman. You're not doing it
Oh yeah.
of
Yeah.
anything else. So we
Right.
really try to bring it up every season. And how can we level up the podcast? Because our first season, it was the most watched podcast of any Dallas Cowboys podcast for its first season.
Wow.
Which like that's hard to beat, So
Yeah.
the second
Yeah.
year we were like, how can we up it up a notch? And that's where we had player interviews come on like the Tuesdays, because that's
Oh
their
yeah.
off days.
Yeah.
And we really emphasize our relationship with the players because,
Yeah.
again, being a woman in sports, you get all of the stigmas that come behind it. And
Mhm.
really, at the end of the day, you ask players in the locker room why they choose to come on our podcast. And it's because we're empathetic. We're not going to sit there and put them on the spot. We're not going to grill them. We're going to ask them the hard
Exactly.
questions, but it doesn't mean you have to treat them less than human about it. So
Right.
they respect that, and how we approach things in the locker room with them is just very hands-on. Like, hey, I get you're human and I have a job to do, you have a job to do. We've really established this good respect and rapport with the players. So
Yeah.
when it
Seems
came
like.
time to asking people to come on, we were like a little nervous about it, but then we started getting guys that were like, hey, you didn't ask me to come on the podcast. So
Wow.
that's a
Wow.
good problem
Yeah.
to
Oh
have.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So it's been honestly a blessing of my life, because I moved to Dallas on like a dream that I would cover the Cowboys one day. Like nothing was
Wow.
lined up when I moved here. I was like, I'm from Las Cruces, New Mexico. Nothing's gonna happen just sitting here in
Wow.
Las Cruces. Like I need to jump. So I moved away
Yeah.
from like all my friends, all my family. Didn't really know anybody when I got here on like this
Right.
really wonky, low-paying job. And so then a year later, like this all came up, and it's just been
Wow.
the most incredible journey of my life. So all that to say, like, I really hope anybody that watches Girls Talk Boys Talk feels inspired in some way, even if
Yeah.
no matter who you are, if you're a woman, if you're a man, like it doesn't matter. I just want everybody to take away, like Aisha and I especially, we started just doing things for fun. She started on YouTube talking about football for fun. I started just podcasting for fun because I just wanted a yap. Like I'm a natural
Right.
yapper.
Right.
So anybody, like, it doesn't end for you. Like, you can really do it. And so that's why I love coming on shows like this, because you guys work your tails off. Like, I see y'all on Twitter grinding. I see y'all shows. Like, you do this, and I'm so proud of you. So anytime I can support anybody
Wow.
who's working their tails off to get any kind of recognition, especially for women in sports, like, you have
Yeah.
my support.
Yeah, wow.
Wow,
I
that
really
was
appreciate that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Look, thank you. Yeah, yeah. I
I'm
appreciate
like,
that.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
that it's just so important, and it's kind of like the elephant in the room when women get together, and it's like, do we talk about the misogyny? Do we talk about this? But
right.
I'm glad that you brought it up, because I think it's important. It can be kind of scary as a woman entering this space, because it is male dominated. And honestly, you never know how men are going to feel when they feel like you're commenting on their thing. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? So, surprisingly though, like, I have to give a shout out to all the our great followers. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because a lot of men, they encourage when we were just starting off, and I was just calling in the VOT show or Law show or whatever, and it was encouraging to get positive feedback, I will say, from just regular Cowboys fans, but
Yeah.
also from the content creators. I think the content creators, Law,
Yeah.
Boss Cowboy, J Tug,
All our
Aquarium
guys.
Media, all the guys,
Nick.
Rome,
Yeah,
I can't
landlord, HCM,
Landlord,
Yep.
West
HCM,
Coast.
West Coast, obviously, Big Brother West Coast, who put us
My
together.
gosh.
Yeah,
So it's just a beautiful, but I think that it is so important to talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because, like you said, I have a hard time sometimes, because I'm like, I'll say the exact same thing one of my male counterparts has said,
Yep.
and people don't,
They don't
those
listen to it.
they'll listen to it and they don't go after them. Like, even if they
Right.
don't agree, they won't go after them. But soon as Star say something, they in my DMs trying to argue me down, trying to send me paragraphs and all this type of stuff, because it's like,
Yep.
and I kind of side eye, a man that does that, because it's like, oh, so you want to come at me because you think I'm a weaker vessel,
Yep.
and I'm gonna let you bully me. But
Oh
right.
yeah.
I
And
don't.
even
Yeah, go ahead.
it's just so hard, even like day to day, like people find out what you do, and if it's a man, they automatically question. Like, the most misogynistic comment that I get on a regular basis when people find out what I do is, "Well, name 5 players on the team." Like, you wouldn't be asking a guy to do that if they told
Oh
you they
my
did the
God.
exact same thing,
Yeah.
And it is important to talk
Wow.
about, but also, like you just mentioned, all of these fantastic creators, they've been nothing but supportive, because I started out just like that. Like, I started out
Yeah.
on Twitter just wanting to tweet about the Cowboys, and then that eventually turned into like podcasting with Blogging the Boys, and
Mm-hmm.
that skyrocketed from there. But it's not everybody. Like, I want to make that clear. It's not everybody,
Yeah.
but when
Right.
it happens in ways that, like, you just don't think, and I don't think a lot of people understand how it comes off. So the whole, like,
Mm-hmm.
name 5 players for me, I'm like, you name 5 players for me. Like, I
Exactly.
bet you
Right.
can't even
No,
do
as a
that.
matter of
Exactly.
fact, go ahead and name 5 practice squad players since you so good, sir.
No, literally,
You know what I'm
And they
like,
saying?
don't
Like,
know
can
them.
you?
They do not know them.
it's
Thank
That's
you, Star.
crazy.
Thank you. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
man,
yeah,
it's
That's
nuts.
crazy.
that's
Yeah.
crazy misogynistic. But yeah, I mean, it's something that's in this field. But I'm just glad that you got the Mina Kimes, and those who are like really
Yep.
like just trailblazing for
Right.
us, and
Yep.
Yeah.
letting people know, like, girls. This show is called StarChasers, Girls Talk Ball. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Your show is
Right.
what's it called? Girls Talk.
Girls talk, boys talk.
Girls
Girls
talk,
talk,
boys
boys
talk.
talk.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So girls can talk ball, women can talk ball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think the discrepancy comes in when we haven't played the game. So, men kind of
Yeah.
feel like, have you ever been in a locker room? You don't
Right.
know what
Right.
it's like. I played, D1 football and all that stuff. So it's like, listen, just because I haven't played doesn't mean I don't understand. And I
Right.
think that the women's perspective is important, because I think men, they have their way of doing things, and women, we have our way of doing things, and
Yep.
we
Yeah.
see the situation a lot different. And I think how you pointed out how the players like coming to y'all. You know what I'm saying? Because
Exactly.
they know you're gonna answer hard questions, but women just have a way, make them feel a little bit more comfortable, not abrasive and stuff like that. Where sometimes men can come off of that way, or sometimes men can just be fake. They talk all that ish, and then when they get in front of them, That's be the problem. Like, see, we try to be balanced. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But men want to call you trash, and then when you get in their face, they're like, "Oh, so
Yeah, yeah. I saw what you did in that game there, sir. Like,
And
no, don't back it up now.
it's such a hard balance to find too, though, because like I said earlier too, like you get a good in with the players, but then that's not respected because people are like automatically like, well, what are you doing to be close to the players? I'm treating
Right.
them like a human.
exactly,
Like,
exactly." That's another thing we have to deal with. Like, we
it's always
done this to
something.
get to the top, or done that to get to the top. Like,
It's
no,
always something.
no woman
Like,
can just. Her brain didn't do it. You know, it had to be something else.
gosh, and
Right.
what I really struggled with my first year with Girls Talk Boys Talk was the imposter syndrome that came with it because
Yeah.
like you're next to a lot of very veteran skilled reporters and people in the room that like you've watched and you've learned from,
Exactly.
and kind of having to tell myself like you belong here, you earned this, you deserve this. Like that was hard for me. It was hard for me.
Yeah.
I struggled with
Yeah.
that a lot. The anxiety that came with it, like the sleepless nights of me staying up being like, God, I sounded so dumb on the podcast. Like it ate at me. Just it completely
Yeah.
overtook me that first year. And so I really worked on it last year to be in a better space mentally and not allow it to get to me to that extent,
Yeah.
to care what I'm doing and to love my work, but to understand I have a way of doing it that other people don't, and
Exactly.
that's okay.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be,
Yeah.
like other people are doing it. I can do it my own way and it's
Mm-hmm.
still valuable. And so
Right.
to be able to
Exactly.
get to that point was a journey because
Yeah.
I really struggled for a long time with the imposter syndrome side of things too, because no one tells you when you get to that point in your career that I always like shouted from the mountaintop since I was in high school, like, I'm going to cover the Cowboys one day. I'm going to do it. And I believed it wholeheartedly. Like my Delulu self was like, I have lucky girl syndrome. I'm going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, sure, Jess, like,
Yeah.
okay, and so then you get to this point and then you're like, oh, oh my gosh. Like I remember the first press conference I went to and I asked Mike McCarthy a question, like my hands were literally like shaking
Yeah.
before it was my turn. So it's like, what everybody sees on the podcast, it's like 45 minutes out of our day and they see the best of us. Like there's so much more that goes into it than people understand or realize, and just personal struggles. So it's always going back to the mental health aspect of things too. Like you never know what someone's going through. Like be kind to people online. Like it sounds like a broken record saying those things, but it's something I like to remind people because I feel like they forget we're human too. Like they see us on a screen and it's like we're talking football. We're also human too. Like I deal with massive anxiety and I've had to really like hone in on that. So it's just a good reminder for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad about both of you actually guys both brought those points because actually, that's kind of what my background was too. I kind of started out in the Dallas Cowboys chat, the other content creators like you guys said, Law, Boss, J Tuck, DMV, guys like that, and it was just like just like you said, Star. That's actually perfect the way you said is like you get the encouragement from everyone that's in the chat first of all, and then you start interacting with the creator, and then they start giving you the just the inspiration, and then like really, and just to keep it real, when I saw Star's channel, and I was like, you know what, like she's and Star's actually younger than me, so I was like, you know what, like she as you guys know, Star is like brilliant, so like and when she spits stuff, I'm like, you know what, like that gives me the encouragement, like, hey, you know what, yeah, I know a little bit about football, I want to kind of get out there a little bit, I kind of want to start, doing podcasts, and then just like you said, like you get the encouragement from everyone around you, and then you don't always feel like that pressure, and just like you said, Miss, just like you see that everyone can do it their own different way. You don't have to do it like you don't have to be this person. You don't have to be that person. You can be your own person, and people that rock with you are going to rock with you. And then you can still invite those people who may not rock with you at first. You can still invite those people in. Still, to your type of content.
I mean, look, if you're not rocking with me saying anything but bland every 5 minutes, like, bye. Like,
right, ring the bell. Right, ring the bell this past Sunday, y'all.
You knew it was coming. Like, right. You don't know what's coming because I've established what that is. But like, there's people that find it annoying. I found like somebody sent me like a Reddit thread the other day of somebody talking about me like, oh, it's so annoying when she says that. I'm like, okay, but you're watching.
Exactly.
And you spent the time to put together a thread. So it's like,
Exactly.
Oh my God, I made it. I have a Reddit thread.
right. It's like you're spending your time on me, not the other way
That's
around.
crazy. Make a Reddit thread to hate you. I mean, you'd be surprised how it is online. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people just don't have lives and just so miserable. You know what I'm saying? Like that you would take time to create a Reddit for someone that you don't like. It's like who has time for that? You know, people who don't have lives. You know what I'm saying?
Well, furthermore, I'm like, my friend that sent it, I'm like, how'd you find that? Like, what were you searching that you found that?
Just
Like,
Googled yourself and oh my God, I found a
oh
Reddit
my
one.
gosh. But you know what? Like, I've learned, like, if people don't like what I'm doing again, oh well. I have so many
Exactly.
people, and
Right.
Girls Talk, Boys Talk in general have so many people that are willing to, like, rally. Like, I learned a long time ago, like, I don't read comments. I was just talking to you guys before we started recording. Like, I don't read comments. I don't go in the messages. Like, I just don't do it. For, like, good reason. And again, like, that first year really taught me a lot. But it's just funny because I'll hear people be like, we were defending you guys in the comments, and I'm like, oh my God, you guys are so cute. Like, or sometimes we'll see
You're like
people getting in
appreciated.
fights on Twitter
Right.
over it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys,
But it's better that you just let your people like back you
Yeah.
up, because it's
Yeah.
like you sit there and look at all those comments, like you could low-key get depressed. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's easy to fall into it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, that first year, like, Aisha and I really came together to be very close friends outside of the podcast, because
Yeah.
it was such a different experience that we had as far as, like, coming in so fresh like we did. And you know, like, people don't want to talk about the dark side that comes with those kind of things, because nobody sees it on social media. It's not like I'm posting like, hey guys, I'm really depressed right now. Like, I'm not,
Right.
but
Right.
it doesn't mean it's not happening, you know?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm glad you brought that out. And shout out to you. Shout out to Patrick Noxie Walker, because he definitely keeps that. You know,
yeah.
I think I
Talks
saw him
about
tweet out
mental
today
health a
about mental
lot.
health. Yeah, he tweeted out today, and I'm like, I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
glad that they keep it prevalent and in front of people's eyes, because
Yeah.
just like you said, being on social media is just a whole entire world, which it shouldn't be, but just the way
Yeah.
technology has come along, and we know it's 2024, just the whole entire world in itself. And even just in the flash, even 5 minutes, people can just be mean, and then 5 minutes from now, oh, I said that. Oh, I didn't realize I said that. I didn't realize I came out that way. So it's like you sometimes
Especially
you
when
have
you're
to
talking
remind
about the
people.
Cowboys, though, like it
Right.
amplifies and it will spread like wildfire, because
Yeah.
people love this team and they're so passionate about it. And look, I understand. I started as a fan. Like,
Yeah.
if anyone gets it, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
I cried every time Tony Romo went down with an injury. Like, look, I get it. Like, I understand, and I've had to take off my fan hat in the last couple of years and really put on, like, the journalism reporter hat, which is just a very
Right.
different, you know, viewpoint. But I
Right.
understand when fans are frustrated. What I don't understand is when you take it out on the wrong people. Like,
Right.
I had somebody tweet me the other day, like, I did a thread on the last, like, scrimmage that they had with the Rams, and some guy was like, I don't care, tell Jerry to pay. I don't know, going on. And I was like, you know,
Like,
I
y'all
don't
doing
have
too
a
much.
You're like, what does this got to do with my tweet? Yeah.
like,
Right.
I had nothing to do with that. And he was like, I know, but I'm not supporting in the meantime. Okay, like,
Yeah, Cowboys fans are super angry, but let's take a break to just do some shout outs. Shout out to the Angry Cowboys fan. Y'all follow the Angry Cowboys fan. That's another content creator.
love
He's
that.
awesome. I think him and Law probably have the best voices in the Cowboy content.
For real though.
Creator
And big time as well. Big time show.
Big time as well, yes.
Yeah.
So shout out to him. Shout out to Jameson. Jameson, we're praying for you. I think you had said that you had to get like your catheter replaced, something like that. So we're praying for you.
Bud.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nisi, Keystone. We we love you, Key.
Yeah,
Stephen White, Dacon's Filthy. See if I missed anybody. I think Kelvin was in here.
All these nice people.
Kelvin,
I love this,
Lee
the
Harrison
positive
from
comments.
Facebook. Yeah, I love it. Lee Harrison
nice.
from
Facebook gang.
Shout out Lee Harrison,
I love
Nisi.
Facebook.
We love you, Nisi.
Yeah.
And I think that's about it. So appreciate everybody in the chat. Just I like to do shout outs, just let you know that we appreciate you guys 100% for rocking with us. But Okay, Mickey, you want to start talking some football?
Do
Yeah,
it.
I mean, look, as you guys know, today Cowboys held their second joint practice with the Rams. For I guess they, just love practicing together. But I think we see a few more fights today. Just a little few more skirmishes for whatever reason. Huggins,
Yeah.
who just got here, decided to push down the coach and just I don't know, just for whatever reason, the second joint practice is went a little sideways, y'all. So just to
Yeah.
kind of just start, I guess we just find a kind of a start, find a starting talking point, just to
Mhm.
kind of get out the way for me, and I hope you guys feel the same way. Just kind of ask about Trey Lance. Just we know, it's just not to make a huge deal out of it, but we saw the way he played the other day. Not terrible. We saw it kind of progress, as the game went on. Which me personally, I wish just I know people are trying to give him a little bit of an edge and trying to give him a benefit of the doubt, but me personally, just viewing a quarterback on the field, I want to see you kind of create, even though you haven't played in a long time, is you're just still learning the system, you haven't really had time to see real game reps. I still want you to still be able to create a connection with your receivers, at least by the third, second half, fourth quarter even. I mean, the balls were still just a little bit high. Just that's one thing I tweeted during the game is this: I just do not like how these guys had to jump up so high to catch these balls because number one, they're either going to hit the ground or they're going to hit the DB that's going to be running into him to make the tackle.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to kind of bring some of those balls down. Love the rushing I see from him. I will say that I loved his some of the decision making he made as far as going right into making some of those run plays. Of course, shout out to the O line, stepping up, helping out with making creating space in that. But just
Mhm.
just if you want to, Miss Jess, if you do just want to comment, I just kind of want to ask him, if you maybe were around Trey for the second joint practice, or if you just maybe if you heard things from people inside the building, excuse me, just maybe how he was in practice, and maybe if he took some of those game reps that he now has under his belt, and how he was just kind of performing in practice today.
Yeah. So the thing about Trey Lance, and you hit the nail on the head when you said it's been a long time since he's played. It's been a year. And what people are skimming over too is it's been a long time, and then he had an injury, and then he was kind of thrown to the side by the 49ers. Like, it's not like
Right.
it was, like, oh, okay, he just didn't play because of the luck of the draw. Like, it was one unfortunate thing after another. And what I always go back to with Trey is how things kind of panned out with the 49ers. It truly was, I said this on a podcast I did a couple days ago, like, it felt like they did him as dirty as possible and then threw him to the side, and that was it. They were like, nope,
Yeah.
sorry, don't care. Like, it was
No chance at all. It seemed like.
it was truly just stripping him of all confidence. And so when he first got to the start last year, I remember the first practice we saw him in, he was very behind the eight ball. Like, there was Cooper Rush, Dak Prescott, and then him doing the quarterback drills. And, Cooper and Dak were in sync. And then Trey was just like panicking, like, which way am I going? What am I doing? Like, I felt bad. I was like, man, this guy has a long way to come because whew, like, he was struggling even with just the drills, the individual team drills there, or
Yeah.
position drills, I should say. And so, fast forward to now, and as time progressed, you saw him catching up more. You saw him asking questions.
Yeah.
And during OTAs, when I was in the building watching him, he was in sync with everybody. So the drills that a year ago he was struggling with, now he's right in sync, and he blended right in. He had his shoulders up a little bit more. So the confidence is starting to come back. And so, for me, I guess I questioned what the expectations were across the board for Trey Lance to look like going into that preseason game, because I didn't
Mhm.
expect really anything. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna see what I see, and then after that, like, we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Because I didn't expect like a mini Dak Prescott to run on the field and like blow us away. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
and maybe that's just based on what I saw at practice, but
Yeah, I was gonna say,
overall,
especially based on what we've seen in training camp. I mean,
yeah.
we can
Overall,
expect a quick turnaround.
I just feel like he definitely, it's not a matter of reps. It's a matter of actual live game reps that he's going to need. Aisha brought this up on Girls Talk, Boys Talk, saying, though, like, how much time do you have left? Like, is 2 preseason games going to be enough for him? And I
Right.
have the same question, because at the end of the day, like, you can only do so much in 2 games. And yes, given you're going to play the majority of those 2 games, but you can only do so much and you can only build your confidence back up. So I personally haven't heard anything. I haven't poked around enough to be quite honest with you. But what I will say is I think how we see Trey bounce back on Saturday is going to be who he is as a player. So I'm not giving any judgment on his play style yet. I think what you see Saturday, his redemption moment, whether he chooses to like be above it and do better and learn from the exact mistakes he had last week. And, maybe it's not a perfect game and you have some interceptions, you have some bad throws, whatever the case is. But I want to see growth. And if I see growth, that tells me that the confidence wasn't completely stripped back down and mentally he is doing better to push himself to continue to grow, because that's a big aspect of his game right now. Is it's the mental game and it's the confidence game. The skills, they're there. They can use refining. But what I really appreciate about, Mike McCarthy in general and just how he coaches is he takes things back to the basics for everybody. And so I think Trey Lance, it was definitely a case of we need to take you back to the very basics, and that's what they've been doing. So for me, Saturday is going to be my true test of who Trey Lance is as a player.
Yeah. And with Trey Lance, I think, if you say anything negative about Trey Lance, people think you're hating, and you just love Dak, and you think he's a threat to Dak, all this crazy stuff. But anyway, like, I don't know how clear I can be that I do not want Trey Lance to fail. And I don't think, there might be some people that want him to fail, but, I'm not one of those people. I think, I had watched Trey Lance the beginning of the offseason. I had watched his preseason games from the 49ers. Right. And the critiques that I had in that game was the same critiques that I had in this first preseason game. And, I had originally given him a D because I was like, I don't see growth. Like before the game, I was like, Trey, just let it fly. You know what I'm saying? Because he has a tendency, like he doesn't trust what he sees. The plays are right there in front of him. He won't throw the ball. So I was like, if I see him, like even if Trey if he had a Stetson Bennett performance and threw 5 picks, I probably would have been like, I'm going to give you a C+. You want to know why? Because at least you had the cojones to go ahead and just throw the ball. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
that's the question I was going to ask.
It's almost like when he doesn't get his first read, that's when you see the panic starting to build, and you can see it. And my problem is as a quarterback, you have to have a poker face. Like you absolutely cannot let defenders sniff out like you're panicking, right? And he has no poker face right now. Like it's genuinely like,
and that's the problem.
So apparent,
right? It's so apparent, and that's the problem because these are backups that are like fighting for jobs. These are second, third, fourth string guys, and so you can only imagine first team defense. They're looking at you like you are food. We're gonna get you so bad today. And with Trey, it's not his physical ability. Some people are pointing out oh, this was a dot. He threw a dot here, and I'm like, yeah, but then I go and look at what's his name, the guy who does QB school, and I'm like, oh no, what's his name?
I just seen his face too, but I forget.
JD something. He does the QB school. He breaks down all the QBs.
No.
Hold on.
It's what's his name?
He
was actually coached by Mike McCarthy. Taught him everything he knows. What's his name? The QB school. Hold on, I'll pull it up. His name is.
Sorry, you can hear my dog over here being loud.
JT O'Sullivan is his name.
Yes.
JT O'Sullivan. And so I watched his hour-long breakdown of Trey Lance, and I got a little bit because, these quarterbacks, and he knows Mike McCarthy. He knows Mike McCarthy's system. He knows the plays. Of course, we add wrinkles, but he knows it. And so when he's breaking down things, he's like, yeah, he's like, I'm not really sure at this point that Trey Lance understands the installs or the plays because a lot of things that he was throwing, it's like that. Like this was supposed to be your first read. You just threw it out there. So it's like, what are you doing? And then the accuracy, which I'll be fair, we didn't have another quarterback that everybody considers top 5, Josh Allen, who, let's be honest, his accuracy was was terrible. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Before they said he worked with Tony Romo in the offseason. He got better accuracy wise. And then of course they gave him, I think he got Brian Daboll, because people don't realize it, but Brian Daboll is the reason why like Josh Allen is a baller, because he made him a baller.
Goes deep, though.
Exactly,
like, it really does.
Like he made him, he pretty much made that. So you have Brian Daboll, and then you give him Stephon, you give him a true number one wide receiver, and you see the growth of Josh Allen. But the thing is, Josh Allen, he was raw, but guess what? The Bills were like, "You're our first round pick. We're going to grow with you. We know you're going to have some struggles, but we're going to allow you to have those struggles, and we're going to figure it out."
Yeah.
With Trey Lance, my issue is this. It's like, okay, you did get derailed by injuries, but when you get derailed by injuries, that means that you pretty much had about 2 years, because he got hurt in 2021 and 22. Mm-hmm. So you had about 2 years to sit and learn the San Fran offense. And then last year, you had a year to sit and learn the Cowboys offense. And I just feel like with Trey, again, it's not physical ability. It's really like you said, Jess, he needs not mental reps. Because I think he's pretty much maxed out on mental reps. I don't think that the kid can really learn much more from sitting on the bench. Right. He really needs to play. Yeah. But when we look at the situation here, we know for sure this year, unless that goes down, and God forbid he's not going to go down, but unless that goes down, even if you are, because I'll say this, Jess, I don't know if you heard Mike McCarthy's presser today, but did you hear his presser today, Mike McCarthy?
I didn't. I work another job, and I was deep in that other job. I will listen to it tomorrow. Like,
yeah,
I literally have a calendar of when I like listen back to pressers since I'm not at training camp. That's tomorrow morning for me. So
okay, so you'll know what I'm talking about tomorrow. But Mike McCarthy. And Mickey, can you put on background music?
Oh, yeah, I got you. I didn't even realize we were talking. I
just realized, I'm like, it's so quiet here. But Mike McCarthy, because they had asked him, because I'm going to be honest, I was campaigning all day. I was like, listen, guys, I just wanted to be more balanced. I want to actually see a competition between Cooper Rush and Trey Lance. Sure. And I feel like last game, they literally, I knew Trey Lance was going to get majority of the reps. But I didn't know he was going to get like all the reps, because they gave Cooper Rush one drive and they were like, see ya. And so whoever asked the question, I forgot who asked it, but they were like, hey, Mike, like, you know, do you think, like, how do you balance it? Because of course, Trey Lance is unexperienced. You want him to have as much reps as possible. Yeah. But at the same time, like, y'all only giving Cooper Rush like what drive? So it's like, are y'all trying to prepare him at all? Or is he a factor basically? And Mike McCarthy, the way that he talked was basically like Trey Lance is already quarterback too. You know, that's how I perceived it from him, because he was basically saying like, how many reps does Cooper Rush have? He's like, how many reps did Cooper Rush have in college? And they're like, a lot? And he's like, exactly. He doesn't need the reps. And he was like, kind of like annoyed. You know what I'm saying? Like, why y'all even asking me about Cooper Rush? And I'm just like,
what I do think, though, is like, I share the same sentiment as pretty much most people. Like, you know what you're getting with Cooper Rush. You understand it. You really don't need to see it. And in order to truly see what Trey Lance is, he does need majority of the reps. Like, that's just the reality of it. Because really, you look at how this could go, right? So say Trey Lance continues to play the majority of game 2, game 3 in the preseason, okay? And then it comes down to roster cuts, and then they decide Cooper Rush is your QB2. Well, then no harm, no foul. You have your backup emergency 3 quarterback in Trey Lance, but you also can fairly evaluate where he is based on 3 pretty much full games at that point. However, say he has a phenomenal game 2 and game 3, then it makes it a little bit of a tougher decision for them to decide. But really at this point, and even going into this game, I didn't think Cooper Rush was getting stripped of his QB2 position. And that just goes with the same sentiment I share with the younger guys, which is you have to earn your spot. Like, just because it's Trey Lance, it doesn't mean like you walk in there and you're QB2. Like, that's not how they operate. And it's very much Cowboys mentality. Like, you earn it. And so to me right now, Trey Lance is showing if he's earned it or not. And if not, I mean, at the end of the day, it's no harm, no foul, because you have a QB2 who has proved he can be your backup quarterback, who understands the system, who's been there with Dak, he's getting with Cooper Rush. You're getting your rush hour back, right? So it's like you don't have to do much with it.
But do you think? Okay, go ahead, Mickey. I got.
No, I was going to say, I think
proving, having him prove himself. I think.
Yeah, and I think the same way that Dak is kind of taking those reps in training camp, I think Cooper's been kind of taking not the exact same reps, but Cooper's taking a lot of reps in training camp as well, and they do a lot of 2-minute drills, and he works with a lot of the same squad guys. So I think just to both of you guys' point, like I think they're using their practice to kind of ramp up, because Cooper is also getting those reps against the Rams in the Rams joint practice as well. So they're actually getting used to both sides of the ball. So I think they're kind of leaving those game reps to you guys' point, leaving those reps to Trey Lance.
Yeah. I do have a follow-up question, because I can get the Cooper Rush. He already has the experience, yada, yada, yada. We don't need to see him. That's what everybody, we don't need to see him. We don't need to see him. It's like, okay, fine. We don't need to see him. But when it comes to these wide receivers and these tight ends, like, aren't we supposed to be using the preseason to evaluate them too? Or are we just using practices to evaluate them? Because where I'm coming from is, and sure, there's guys that people like, they're not going to make the roster. Okay, but how do you know? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, can we properly, because there was about 4 to 5, and I'm just being honest, there's about 4 to 5 touchdowns Trey Lance left out there. There's inaccurate passes. There were some dimes that were dropped. He had 5 drops, so I will say that. But at the same time, that touchdown for Jalen Moreno-Cropper.
Yeah.
The touchdown for Cam Johnson. The first down yak opportunities that our tight end, had, like, these are, and Brevin Spanford, like, these are guys that are really fighting. They're really fighting for spots. Like, and there, to me, their livelihood matters too. I get it. Trey Lance needs all the experience in the world, but at the same time, it's like, but what about these other guys? Don't they matter? It kind of has felt like this is kind of like the Trey Lance experience, and it's like everybody just kind of get in where you fit in. That's how it's kind of feeling like now. Like, everybody just, you're not as important as Trey Lance.
Yeah, like, no. To your point, because to your point, Stars, one thing when you have to go through this in practice, okay, the guy's missing throws. He's kind of high in practice. Okay, it's not a real practice. We know it's not full speed, but to your point, like, hey, when it's game time, okay, now it comes down to the point. I'm trying to get my job. I'm trying to actually show what I'm capable of. You're still doing the same things that we experience in practice, where I got to go higher for the ball, or you're missing, I'm dropping the ball, or you're missing passes. So there's still that disconnect, even from practice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, at the end of the day, though, like, going back and stripping the film down like they do after every game, they're going to see it wasn't coming from them. And experience is experience, whether it's like positive or negative for these receivers. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, at the end of the day, they're understanding even more so, if it wasn't just passed by Trey Lance, like how important it is to connect with your quarterback and understand their verbal and nonverbal. And when they do get those practice reps with Dak, they really hone in on it. And so it's like, this is a time for, especially guys that are right on the cusp, like the guys you're talking about, that it's literally going to come down.
Like Jalen Moreno, right?
Yes. Like, I'm looking at this
even
right now, like,
Tyron Billy Johnson. I mean,
he
really got any reps on offense.
Establishing what that looks like if you're a Deuce Vaughn who is back at practice today, a Snoop Connor, like, who has a fighting chance at being on this roster, but just needs more of the reps to come in.
Yes, because I don't mean to cut you off, because even in the second half when he came in, he showed some burst, but he only had.
We wouldn't run the ball.
Oh, I was like, yo, I said, don't let him come in and lap you, Malik, because he's showing something. But then they stopped running the ball. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
Yeah, you want to see more. And here's the thing, though, like, even if they're not getting the catches or all that, which you want them to every time, they're still getting valuable experience to understand truly how important it is to take advantage of their time with Dak, or even Rush. Like, at the end of the day, they're getting those reps at practice with them. Yeah. They also, look, as a receiver, sometimes you have to bail your quarterback out. Like, you have a bad time, it's your job to still catch that ball. And
if it's in the vicinity. Right. I agree with that.
It's not fair that they had to do it on a consistent basis.
That part.
Like,
over and over and over again.
But it is all valuable to them.
That's true. I think you talked me. That's a good point that you said, because you're like, hey, like at least, because I couldn't really wrap my head around it. So glad you came on the show, because it's like, hey, they know, like, even if they know Jalen Cropper got wide open, and they know if that was Dak, that's a touchdown. So,
and you have to remember too, like, they have been evaluating these guys, I mean, day in and day out since even before
OTAs.
You know what I mean? Like, we as like the audience watching, we're like, okay, this is the only time we get to see them, like, or the open practices, are the only time we get to see them. There's a lot of things we also don't see, and so there's a lot of evaluation that goes into the time that we don't see or we don't hear about. But yeah, I mean, a guy like Jalen Moreno-Cropper, who also could get, you know, more attention on the returning side of the game, going to come out being one of your determining factors on who grabs that wide receiver spot, because you had a Jalen Moreno-Cropper taking bits at that. Deuce Vaughn is back, so he'll take some bits at that. And then
Billy Johnson too. He was taking those special teams.
David Durden, who
David Durden,
who's back doing that. So
he's back now. Okay, I was like, dang, I didn't even see David Durden, but he was out with injury. Okay,
and so I feel like
there's so many guys
position behind Kavontae Turpin is also going to
determine if you're going to be on the roster, because that's how, you know, Brian Schottenheimer said it himself. He's like, you know, for everybody else, like, that's why they're trying to get Deuce a dual role, you know, on offense, but also you have to contribute to special teams, because once you get down the depth chart, it's like, we need guys that can play special teams. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
and
if you can't play special
teams rule, like, it is vital that these guys show out, because now it's not like it was before where, okay, you have an opportunity, like, kind of, I go back to Sam Williams last year, where it just kind of started out as a joke with him and John Fossil being like, hey, you should let me do this when CJ Goodwin went down, and Fossil was like, okay, go ahead, and then actually saw potential in Sam, and that's kind of how that, like, came to be, with Sam being at gunner. Which, gosh, I'm devastated for him. I truly am devastated for him.
I feel like we should have moved them all. First of all, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like we should have moved Sam last year, because I was like, the penalties in the critical moments was just a little bit too much for me. And this year, when, you know, hearing from Mike Zim that we were going to use him 70%, I was like, should he have really? You know, it's kind of like we had CD returning punts. But once he got partner, we're like, no, we're not going to have you returning punts.
You're like,
because you're just too valuable. It's all like with Sam Williams,
on special teams,
as valuable as he is, like, why were we still saying we got all of these guys? We got a ton of guys that can play special teams. There's no reason for your 70% DE to be on special teams.
It's so hard for me, because I understand, like, the vision that John Fossil had for him, in the sense that, like, if you can be a gunner and be Sam's size and have his speed, and it's only going to be your advantage to be knocking guys out, and
it's fun. It's fun to see him.
Great. And here's the thing about Sam last year is, like I said, it kind of was an accidental happenstance to how he got there to begin with. But it also was a confidence builder for him to be on special teams last year too, because
that's true, because he was on the bench. He was on the bench.
And he comes from a lot of disciplinary issues where he needed something to give him discipline and give him, like, honestly, some kind of, I guess, motivation,
some purpose, you know.
If you're sitting on the bench and you know, you're not getting your reps as DE, like, I praise John Fossil for being like, take it, Sam. Like, let's perfect it.
I think, to your point, I think Sam Williams just really looking just for an avenue in. I mean, like you said, a connection with Bones Fossil. Even when Zimmer came in, he said Sam Williams, one of the first guys to come to his office and say, hey, I'm looking for a big year. I'm trying to be involved. So Zimmer, he just trying to look for a way in. You know what I'm saying? So
that was so sad for him. I am gutted, because this was the year that I felt like the disciplinary part of his game was going to come together.
It was going to come out.
Zimmer. And I feel like Zim was the perfect coach to really, like, tie those with with him,
Yeah.
especially coming off of a year working with John Fossil, who the guys love. The guys that work with Bones just talk so highly about him because of how he cares about you as a person. And I feel like Sam needed that as a player to feel heard, to feel seen. And after that, like, it starts to fall in place for him. I'm so sad because, man, I really felt like this was going to be the year that you're like, oh, that's Sam. Like, Sam's having a fantastic
he was gonna have a I do believe that he was gonna have a breakout year. And so it was just unfortunate to lose him to injury like that. But you know, with him taking an injury, there's another guy, a young guy behind him that we drafted second overall. I don't think many people expected us to take him, but we took him. I think he like blew up the combine or something and whatever. But Marshawn Nealon, who, you know, you're watching his game film coming out of, where did he come? They were the Mustangs.
It should be on here. Let me see.
I forgot where he went to school.
Sorry, I have the same paper here. Otherwise, I would not.
I think he went to the same school Sky Moore did.
Western Michigan.
Western Michigan, yes. Now you have Marshawn Nealon coming out of Western Michigan, and you turn on his tape from college, and he's just violent. You know, kind of reminds you of Baby D-Law. Micah said reminds him of a Cam Jordan. Guys that really know, you know, and just from the few reps that he got, he's a guy who really knows how to play the run, knows how to scrape down the line, get the tackle. I think he got a tackle. It wasn't a tackle for loss, but it was like a short gain. And so, you know, but his knockdown is that, you know, does he have enough pass rushing moves to actually get pressure? And Mike Zimmer had said, you know, he's working a lot with Greg Ellis and stuff like that. But what are your thoughts on, you know, Marshawn Nealon? And do you think that he's able to fill those shoes, you know, or those hypothetical shoes? Because it was all projection with Sam, but do you think that Marshawn Nealon is enough, or do you think that the Cowboys, because Jory Epstein, shout out to Jory Epstein, love Jory Epstein,
love her,
has the best articles. She put out an article today and talking to Steven, and Steven says, oh, you know, we're looking at, because he's talking about contracts, we're looking at Mike, Dak, and CD. Yeah. They're all holistic. They keep using this like holistic. Everything's holistic. Everything goes together and all of this stuff. And they're like, listen, the reason, you know, why we're looking at it that way is because we need to pay all of them. But then we also, I feel like, I was like, Steven, are you trolling us? Because you're kind of using trigger words for the fan base. Because he's like, because, you know, if, you know, that basically we can get them all paid and all this stuff, we can figure out the financial stuff. We can hear you. We can hear you, Jess.
Okay, I'm frozen. So sorry.
We can hear you and we can see you. So
you're moving too. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm only frozen.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, you're back.
But Steven goes, he's like, oh well, you know, because you know we want to pay him, and then we want to go out maybe at the trade deadline and get a big DT, and we want to go get a pass rusher. And I'm like, Steven, are you pulling our chain, or are you really going to go out there and get a big DT and a pass rusher? You know, like, so what do you think?
I'd love to see who it would be. I mean,
Jonathan Allen.
Well,
that would be
huge. Here's the thing with all of that is all offseason, the big question is why hasn't the front office gone shopping, right? And it always comes down to, well, because you have such large cap hits, you don't have space to go shopping right now. And so my worry is, even if CD gets paid, how much money are you going to have to be able to go? I shouldn't even say if CD gets paid, if or when, because we're manifesting that it's happening soon. Yeah. You know, when that payday comes, how much money do you really have left? Because your biggest cap hit is Dak Prescott. And guess what hasn't gotten done? And honestly, what it sounds like is there's more movement on the CD contract. Obviously, it's not there, so it's a little more urgent than the Dak one. But at the end of the day, like, they put themselves in this situation by not handling this business last year. And honestly, it worked out in CD's favor, because guess who's going to get a bigger payday than he would have last year? Like, and that's kind of your karma for waiting to the very last contract year for these big name players that you know are your guys. You know last year CD's your wide receiver one. You knew last year Dak Prescott's your franchise quarterback. Like, that's why it's just this And this
It's
is
like,
where I
what are we
understand
doing
and
here
empathize
again?
for like the fan base.
Right.
Is it's frustrating to see this constant like stream of, oh well, you really don't have the cap space. Well, you could have. Like, it's so frustrating.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I
the
mean?
point. Like they
It's
did this to
so
themselves.
frustrating.
The reason
So-
why, yeah, go ahead.
Well,
But I
I'm
was
just so I would love to see who they could actually like logistically afford that is not just going to be a depth player, who's going to be an actual
Right.
addition,
Right.
who can be a plug and play guy, get in that line and make a difference. Because guess what you have to have for that? Money. And guess what they
Yeah.
don't have at this very moment? Money.
a lot of money.
They don't have spending limit.
Allegedly, you sign the guys, it opens up cap space. But here's the issue. Steven and them, the reason why they're in this predicament, they put themselves in it, but they kept restructuring these contracts. And so when you restructure a contract, like the money, the thing that people don't understand is like the money's not going away. Like they still gotta pay it. They just move this, do this. So basically, it's what people say: you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, whatever. So it's like they just kept using the credit card. They restructured Dak's contract from 2021 to now. I think they said something like 7 times, something crazy. You just kept borrowing, so they can afford all of these. You know, because what did Jerry say? You know, you get 2 for the price of 1. You know what I'm saying? So they can buy all of these, the Dante Fowlers, and buy all these like kind of low level former great free agents. And it's like now the bill is due. So it's like if you sign these guys, it does open up money that you can go and sign a big guy. But then they're also thinking about, okay, well, we do that. Who's up for contract next year?
It's a laundry list.
Yeah,
like,
a lot of people.
If you don't want your heart broken, don't go look. That's all I'm saying. And guess what? There's 2 very key names on there that I might shatter your hearts and ruin your days. And this is a future us problem. D-Law and Zach Martin.
Yeah, so, I think for sure those 2.
Oh wow!
Unless they want to come back on like vet minimum, they're not going to come back because I'm like.
Look
when
what
you got
Tyron Smith this offseason.
Exactly, I feel like that's
who you never thought would be defending Aaron.
The writing is on the wall. The writing
is on the wall.
About it. Like, and honestly, you guys. I mean, I see a lot of talk about it coming now. Now that our O line is kind of developing to be these younger guys. But Terrence Steele, I mean, he just got his contract. But is he going to be re-signed after this deal, knowing that he has the injury history?
I mean, and it's really hard to like look ahead to that, but it's what's frustrating.
Bland is up next year.
You
Bland
look
is
ahead
up.
and you wonder like if you're still going to be having these problems of like waiting until the last minute to sign these guys. And that's what's so frustrating about this whole thing is you can't go and get free agents. I like had the TV on in the background this morning, and one of the talk shows I was watching was talking about this in the sense of like, you know, why does this keep happening? Like, you're the most valuable sports franchise in the world.
Right.
Why, like, put your money where your money is. Was one of the quotes I heard in the background. I was like,
like nothing makes me more mad when I see the ESPN alert come up on my phone. Says Cowboys, Oh, Cowboys, Oh, Cowboys are now worth $10 billion. Oh, that's the news alert, not that we signed CD. Now, that was frustrating. When
they do really splash moves or trades, like when you got a Stephon Gilmore and you got
Brandon Cooks,
they hold on to that and they're like, but we did that already. It's like,
but
like not in the current, Billy's not re-signed. Brandon Cooks, like he's still here, yes, but like you can't.
This is his last year. You got to repay him.
Exactly.
Right. Like
I think forward.
It's so much, and it's like. Because they say it's a good problem to have, but it's also stressful AF because, like you said, next year you got Jake Ferguson and Bland. Jake Ferguson's a Pro Bowler. Bland is an All-Pro. Probably going to be All-Pro again, and Jake Ferguson could very well be All-Pro this year. So when you have all of these freaking All-Pros, it's like, how are you going to pay these guys?
Yeah.
Like let's be honest. Tyler Smith.
Situation, because here's your problem is. Say you have Dak right out
because Dak's cap hit is how much this year, Jess? It's 40.
It's about $40 million hitting 40. Your cap. And here's the issue: is if you have Dak right out on a 1-year deal, all right, contract year. I personally don't agree with it.
It's the dumbest thing ever. But let's say you hypothetically do that. Yeah.
Like I don't have any say in it, but say you do that, okay, and then when you have these bigger name guys that are on the come up that are younger, and Deron Bland and Jake Ferguson, it just gives the front office more fuel to be like, well, do we need Dak? Does he really need to continue being your franchise quarterback? It adds fuel, and you're like, no,
because who made these guys? Who made CeeDee Lamb? Who made Jake Ferguson? Dak Prescott. Like, we've seen what the team looks like without Dak. Right. And Dak is like literally the heart and soul of this team. Like, you take Dak out of this team, you're going to see just a totally different Cowboys. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying we're going to suck forever. Maybe the Joneses will luck into another quarterback. Who knows? You know what I'm saying?
And you can't expect luck to be on your side forever, because your past franchise quarterbacks came out of pure happenstance.
Right. They didn't want to pay Tony Romo. They didn't want to pay Tony Romo. To be on the practice squad. They didn't want Dak Prescott. That was Jason Garrett. So when you have these guys that really have, then you went and got Trey Lance, and bless his heart, he's doing the best he can. We love him. So it's like, when you see of how you're evaluating guys, it doesn't really give you hope. But but Dak keeps saying, like, and Steven has said it too, I don't want to be the highest paid, but I have to be paid. I cannot be paid significantly less, because I have a duty to my NFL brotherhood. Like, I can't just go here and take a $40 million deal, and then you got Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love, who played 1 year getting $55 million. Like, be for real.
Well, and here's the thing: no matter what, Dak will find a home that will pay him.
Absolutely. Like, the leverage is all in Dak's hands. So it's really like, and I've researched this. I was like, no team has ever moved off of a quarterback who coming off an MVP All-Pro season. No team has ever done it in the history.
Why would you? Like, why?
NFL, like, that's just never happened. So it's like, you can theoretically say, okay, we can try to sign him. We'll wait. We'll make him prove it, and then we'll try to sign him in March.
It's so frustrating.
Why would Dak do that at that point? Why would he say, at that point, this is the first time I can hit the free agency. You told me you didn't want to sign it because you wanted your MVP quarterback to prove it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go off with my baby and my girl and my brother and my family, and we're going to go get courted by these other 10 to 15 NFL teams that want us. Yeah, because you're not paying. Dak says we don't want you. Exactly.
He has a great season this year. He balls out like he did last year, which there's nothing that indicates he won't. There is nothing to indicate that that's not going to be the case, right? Like, your O-line's coming together. You have pretty much a brick wall with Cooper Beebe now in center earning the
brick wall. We got to talk about that. Did y'all see those clips today?
It's like, oh God. I'm so
they are destroying people.
Right. And not be the guy against Cooper Beebe. Like, I don't have to.
Just they're getting destroyed. Like, when that's all what our line is doing, I was like, we have not seen this push since 2016, maybe. Mm-hmm. Like, total power run domination. Like, just literally pushing guys off ball. Yep. They're all on the ground. There's nothing they can do. Like,
Tyler Smith, who is in his third year, that looks like a
third year All-Pro
veteran.
Yeah. And he has the mindset. He has the mindset to go right along with it. I mean,
you're laughing to the bank with these guys.
Yeah, I mean, he himself said that he was proud of the rookies that were coming in. He's proud of their work ethic, the way they're taken to the offensive line room. You guys seen Cooper Beebe talk about how, working with Zach Martin, working with Hoffman, even though he's competing against Hoffman, he even credits Hoffman with helping him out, kind of boosting up his mentality, his morality as well, and just seeing the competition, just seeing how well he just goes out there and executes his role, and even not just Beebe, but Guyton as well, just coming in, just embracing his role, the role that was placed upon him. And even though he's missing practices, Beebe has had to quote unquote compete for the role. These guys have stepped up to the opportunity, and now that they actually are taking first team reps with the team and actually in their roles, like, I think you just see them growing already. You see the confidence. You see Guyton getting vocal in the guy's face, like, "Hey man, this is mine right here. This is ours right here."
Guyton was tearing up Jared Verse. And Jared Verse is a first round pick, like one of the best pass rushers that came out of this past draft. Yes.
Right.
was
But if you're
destroyed.
Dak Prescott, aren't you like, hey, I'm good? Like,
Okay.
that's one less thing I have to worry about.
Exactly. Like,
I'm good.
Wow.
Dak has not had. Dak is so good because now he's a vet, so he knows how to. Right, he knows how to navigate. But the last time Dak had 20 years to throw the ball was like 2016.
Yep. Well, and you know what's interesting too is you have an offensive line that can find continuity this year. You didn't have that last year. Keep in mind, Zach Martin was in his holdout. Like
Zach Martin was in holdout.
Zach Martin
couldn't practice Tyron.
Still coming up,
right.
Terrence Steele coming back from his injury, like kind of ramping up.
Right.
Oh yeah, Terrence Steele. He was a shell of himself.
You didn't have the steady continuity that you could
right.
have. And so it's going
That's
to
a good
be,
point.
I feel like a smoother sailing going forward, even though, you know, you're going to get the veteran rest days when the season comes with Zach Martin and Dak Prescott. They'll get their veteran rest days, but at the end of the day, like, you're having a better opportunity now than you did last year for an offensive line to actually have continuity and to really get Dak's quarterback cadence. Because to me, the biggest thing with Cooper Beebe being at center is he doesn't know that part of Dak as well as Brock Hoffman does, and that puts him at a little bit of a disadvantage because Brock Hoffman's been around it. He understood the here we go for the last year, you know what I mean? So that offensive line, I think, being so young is so exciting, but guess what you have to do? You have to pay them at some point. Like, it's so frustrating to think like you have to worry about that not happening in the near future. You know?
And it's like, when you know our situation is unique, I think that's what Steven's really saying. Like, you know, because they were like, oh, well, the Eagles paid Jalen Hurts and they paid Devontae Smith and they paid AJ Brown and the Dolphins played Tyreek and they paid Tua. So it's like, we're not the only team that have to pay big time guys. Yep. And they're like, yeah, that's true. But on top of that, like, look at the line. These other teams don't have lines of Pro Bowls all pros lined up.
Wait, that's a great
get paid. Like, we have lines of
number one, you know, and a top quarterback. You know
right. And it's like, you think of like, we're building all this chemistry with Cooks. We gotta pay. If we're gonna keep Cooks past this year, we gotta pay him.
Let him cook. You gotta let him cook, but he has to cook with money.
And a top DB in Deron Bland, and a potential top tight end in Jake Ferguson. You said we talk about not being able to pay our players, but it's crazy that all these players are coming up almost at the same time. That you do have to pay all these
and they're usually you try to stagger these guys, or like in the Eagles sense, it's like we're paying Jalen Hurts like 45. Or no, Jalen Hurts getting like 50 million, but we're paying AJ Brown, about 30, and then we're paying Osa is up this year.
I forgot about Osa.
He's up this year. People like Osa, Izzy McQuamu, this is their last year.
Yeah.
See, and I feel like Osa has definitely like earned his spot. Like, Osa is one of the most underrated players on that defense. Period.
He is, and I think he's got a goal. Jess, it seems like we lost your picture, Jess, but but it seems no, I don't know what's happening.
It's giving me grief.
Yeah, well, we can still hear you.
We can hear you though.
Flashing. The camera's flashing.
All right, let's see. Hold on. Let's see what's going on here. Y'all keep going. I'm gonna.
And what's up? You're back. You're back.
There you go. There you go.
And what's up to David and my guy Rico in the chat? Really appreciate you guys rocking with us. But
speaking of Ricos.
Oh, Rico. Right, this is my problem with Rico. Okay. Rico looks good, but we know we can't depend on Rico.
Rico, she's not talking about you in the comments.
Not you, Rico. Rico Dowdle. He looks great. I'm like, he looks great, guys, but he's hurt. He's hurt, guys. It's like Tyron. We love him. We love him to death, but at some point, we can probably bet money that they're gonna get hurt. And like, that's why you kind of have to Rico, people like, he's RB1. I'm like, well, we kind of we got to limit Rico's carries. We can't pile on 25 carries on Rico and just say, oh, Zeke, just come and do short. Like, it's going to have to be some type of balance. I'm pushing for my guy, Deuce. Deuce is my guy. I'm glad he got back on the field today because I do think Deuce is a big play waiting to happen if they can actually learn how to use him, get him going. I think behind this offensive line, behind his guy Cooper Beebe, we should see better. We should see better from all the running backs, truly, because when our interior is getting that much push, like that's great for your running backs. You know what I'm saying?
Because part that seed, man.
It's part of the seed.
Let them go through. Find that hole, man.
Exactly, because when they're part of the seed, you don't have to. I think we struggled last year, Jess. Not only was our run scheme not good, but Tony Pollard, first of all, he's coming off injury, so he was a little bit not himself. But on top of that, we really saw the struggle with TP's vision because we changed the scheme up. We were used to running outside zone concepts with Kellen Moore. He gets on the outside, he does a little shimmy, spin around. Oh, it's a touchdown! But see, last year we're like, no, we changed our run scheme to power gap scheme. No, we're going through the middle, and Tony. Because our O-line wasn't great, he really struggled his vision just struggled. You know what I'm saying? And so
man, this running back room is one of the most intriguing to me. Like
it is intriguing.
Here's the thing. Rico Dowdle has remained your best running back in that room. Period. Like that has remained consistent. And what I will say about Rico's health is last year, like he really emphasized changing his routine and really staying in contact with, the physical therapist and everything to make sure he stays healthy. So what I will say,
that's a key point. Okay, you said for this offseason, Jess, you said he was working this offseason.
That was last year. And
last year. I can
only imagine going forward, like it remains the same, if not gets better. Like if that gives you any kind of hope and faith. Because I don't know if y'all know this, Rico was battling an ankle injury last year. Like.
It was an ankle. It was a hip too, or something.
I think late down the season, it was a hip he was dealing with. But I know about the ankle.
I want to say it was a rain game. It was. I don't remember which game specifically. It was later in the season, and his ankle started like bugging. And what I will say is. I don't know how he continued to play at the level he did with that ankle injury. Because you didn't know. He was
right. We had no clue about that. We had no clue. Yeah.
What I'm saying. So even if and I understand the narrative behind Rico having injuries. He will play through injuries if he can, and a lot of guys do, right? Hey, it's a sprained ankle, take it day to day, and if it's bad enough, Brett Brown's gonna be like, absolutely not. Get your ass off the field, right? But a guy like Rico is, again, this could be his last opportunity this year too to prove why he should remain a running back in this league, period. Right. And Aisha brought this up on Girls Talk Boys Talk yesterday, kind of talking about the pecking order of why did Zeke get to sit out the game? Rico should have been the one in the preseason game because, again, you know what you're getting with him, and so I will be interested to see going forward.
Right, because they said he even had the leg up on Zeke as far as the playbook, the pass protection, things like that.
They're sitting Zeke because Zeke is going to be on this team, and they keep saying Mike Schottenheimer. They're like, we're protecting Zeke. They were like, Zeke doesn't need a lot of carries. It's
I get that, but both of them could have been sitting out.
That's true.
You could have
that's true.
Both of them sitting next to each other.
I think they're probably gonna
getting injured or not.
They probably should sit. They should sit Rico this game, and then if we can get Deuce back, then let it be the Deuce show, and then behind them Snoop Connor and whatever who else.
I think with Deuce coming back, if he's cleared to play, that
Rico will sit. Yeah, Rico should be able to sit.
Yeah, I think he's earned it as well. Being able to.
I was gonna say.
I was just gonna say, he's especially playing last.
He's earned it. What do you think about?
Rico has to fight to be seen, and that frustrates me because right now, he should undoubtedly be your running back one. I even said that last year. Even going back to last year between him and Tony Pollard, I said, dude, you should see this guy at OTAs. Speed of light going by when he finds the hole in the A gap.
Exactly.
You should see him. It's insane.
Yeah.
And
he runs very violent. That's true.
But the thing about TP is, he was coming off of that broken leg, and he just did not have that burst until late in the season.
Yeah, way late.
Because of that, it almost felt like McCarthy kind of just was like, all right, forget about the run. The run will not be in the room with us.
Rico didn't really see opportunities.
That's basically what he did. We didn't really give Rico much opportunity. And he could have balanced it more because it came to a point where Rico was getting 5 carries a game, and then you're giving Tony like 15 to 20 carries. Like, it was kind of crazy. Like, Tony was actually leading the league in touches for like the first half of the season, and that's never been and never will be Tony Pollard's game. You know what I'm saying? So it'll be interesting to see how the running back room goes. But what do you think about? There was some controversy of them.
Sorry, my dog's chewing his foot now.
No, it's okay.
I'm like, stop. He's like, who, me?
It's like, stop chewing your foot off. But
chewing your foot.
Jalen Tolbert. I think some people were shocked. Like, why is Jalen Tolbert sitting? Because
I'm not shocked.
I was like,
wow.
Like, people were like, because they're like Jalen Brooks. It feels like Jalen Brooks and Jalen Tolbert are kind of like neck and neck almost. Oh, Jess says they're not neck and neck. Why don't you think they're neck and neck?
Well, I'm going to say Jalen Tolbert has a little bit of an up on Jalen Brooks. And that's only because Jalen Tolbert has remained consistent for, this entire off season. Like, he's a guy that the start of OTAs or even just voluntary practice, like, he's looked consistent. Like, he came out of the gates just like running his routes, knowing exactly where he needed to go, not questioning it, being confident, and like, hey man, I'm here to get that wide receiver 3. Like, Jalen Tolbert, since the start of OTAs, looked like your wide receiver 3. Period. Like, that was not even a question. And Dak Prescott trusts him. And what I will say, I haven't gone
to
key
point
Brooks about it. Personally, it is something I need to ask him. But what I will say is I've talked a lot to Jalen Tolbert, and his emphasis this offseason was, I need to get a good relationship with the quarterback. He talked about, like, they text every day, and it's not about football. They're like guys being guys. Talking about
they're just getting close.
All the random stuff. And even like we were laughing because he's like, I'm Uncle JT to baby MJ, you know, like he spent time with Dak's family, and he emphasized that like as a way to better their relationship and their friendship, and it's leaking out into what you're seeing on the field. I haven't talked to Jalen Brooks to know exactly like how much time he spent with Dak outside, but what I will say is I've always just felt like JT kind of had that upper hand just because of that. Dak does trust Jalen Tolbert wholeheartedly, and you see that. I haven't seen enough of Dak and Jalen Brooks to understand the trust level there.
They're dynamic.
That Jalen Brooks is, since last season, he's a guy that
he's a stud.
And he's a teammate you want. He is like this positive light in that locker room. Like he's the guy that's gonna go up to the guy struggling and be like, "Hey man, you got this." Like, and that sounds like such a remote thing that shouldn't matter. And like, we're talking about no, that matters. I almost it matters because at the end of the day, like, not only is he a great teammate off the field, but he's being productive and you saw what he can do. Like, you saw exactly what he did with Cooper Rush. You saw it, and that's because guess what? He worked with Cooper Rush last year for most of his reps. So getting that with Dak,
they had that chemistry. Right.
Jalen Brooks also spoke to the point of working with Dak, spending a little extra time with him during the trip they took to I believe Atlanta last year. No, he actually spoke last year when I think he was on. He did an interview with Nicole Hutcherson. I think it was when they the interview when they get to know them the rookies during the year, and he spoke to the point that he spent just a little bit extra time with Dak during the Atlanta trip, and actually during the season he said he was spending some extra time, just kind of building that rapport at the same time. So he said probably not as much as Jalen Tolbert, but just know that Dak actually takes the time to spend the time with other receivers, not just one main receivers.
It's no shade to Jalen Brooks, like. If anybody's rooting for that guy, it's me. Like, there was one time, it was before a game. It was last year. And my family was here in town, and we all went to go eat. And lo and behold, like, Jalen Brooks walks in, like, "Oh, hey, JB," and he's like, "Hey, Jess," and like my family, they know I do this obviously, but they were like.
Kind of starstruck.
He was so nice to them, like, introduced himself, said hi, and I'm like, go enjoy your dinner, like, don't be Jalen, like, get out of here, go enjoy dinner. But then, like, he made it a consistent thing to be like, hey, how's your uncle going? Like, how's your uncle doing? How's your mom?
He's a very sounds like he's a very personable guy.
The sweetest dude. And then ironically enough, like his next door neighbor ended up sitting by my parents at one of the other games that they went to. And so my dad was like, we met him. He was so nice.
Oh, wow.
And so, like, anytime a guy is just so down to earth, and here's the thing too about JB, he's coachable. He wants to learn.
Yeah. I was just gonna say he's earning it too. He's earning it.
And just because he's like a hair, in my opinion, like behind Jalen Tolbert, it's only because there has to be a pecking order. Like there has to be a 1, 2, a 3, a 4.
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
I agree with that.
Put them both right there.
You would put a neck in there.
Now, because there has to be a pecking order, JB has to be right there. And you know what? That's not.
I agree with that. I think that's exactly where it is with, that's why I wasn't really worried about Tolbert sitting, because I'm like, yeah, he can compete, but theoretically, like when your quarterback literally like calls him out by name and says like, whoever I'm the closest with in the offseason is who's going to have a big year. Like clearly Dak believes and trusts Jalen Tolbert, and that chemistry started last year. Like Dak was going to Jalen Tolbert. Remember that first Eagles game, like on that fourth down, he missed Jake Ferguson wide open because he went to Jalen Tolbert because he trusted Jalen Tolbert. He thought Jalen Tolbert's going to catch it. So I think that's an important factor to remember. Like there's a lot of factors that's going into who's playing or not. But one thing that I think was kind of like, somebody mentioned it, and I was like, that was kind of shocking. Marquise Bell.
Ring the bell.
And honestly, like Damone, like these are guys that were starters last year. So it's like there were starters last year. Now Damone, I can understand because Damone had a really hard year last year. He looks great this year, but he struggled. He struggled last year. Yeah. But with with Bell, it's like some people were like questioning, like, why is Bell playing? Like, hasn't Bell solidified his spot?
Well, to be honest, I think it was to get him back in the mode of being a safety again.
Exactly.
Like, I don't think it was anything other than like, hey, let's remember you're not like
he played linebacker. He didn't play safety this year. Right. That's a good point. Yeah.
And like, let's just make sure you have your bearings as that in preseason. I don't think another rep from Mark.
Okay. It'll be interesting. Go ahead.
And to your point, Star, I think the reason, maybe a reason that they had Damone Clark playing is because, I mean, we know he had kind of an off year. He had a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. He was the Mike linebacker. So maybe it was a time for him to kind of get back into his role.
Get back in the groove. Right.
With less responsibility. Like, how to communicate without Eric Kendricks on the field is going to be key for him too.
That's a great point.
Eric Kendricks
that is a great point.
Like, and I'm interested to see who the green dot was during this last game. I wouldn't be shocked if it was Damone because he wore it last.
He wore it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised. But I think it was literally like, hey man, if something happens to Eric Kendricks and this falls on you, like these are your reps to get that like out of your system.
Right.
So
to really,
I didn't read too much into it. Guys like Damone could always,
they can use the reps. Right. Exactly. Right. Like I think it's better, I'm sure they taught them. I mean, the linebackers just look totally different from last year. So I'm sure there's like this different techniques and things and just getting comfortable coming forward. A lot of them are what I call hesitant Harry. I had a knock on.
Not the hesitant Harry.
That's what I call them. Like when they
at least for Sunday, hesitant Harvey.
The whole exactly hesitant Harvey, because I was like, listen, I'm emotionally scarred. I had too much of linebackers running out of gaps, and when Willie Harvey, he struggled. Now I know he has some good things, but I was like, Willie Harvey, that was your gap, and you literally stood there. Yeah. And then when the running back's coming straight to you, you say, like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And people thought that play was on Mozzie. They're like, God, Mozzie sucks. And I'm like, that wasn't on Mozzie. I was like, Mozzie holding his block. You're the linebacker. You have the lane straight to the running back, and you literally jumped out of the gap. So,
I didn't read too much into Damone being on the field. Like, you need a green dot. You need a communicator.
Right. And Zim said there's 5 people. He said there's 5 people that are trained to be the green dot. I don't know who the 5 are, but
Nick Vigil was. I think he said Nick Vigil was another one that came that they had come in playing the green dot.
Yeah,
I feel like Damone, he's done it before. I feel like they'll continue to give him opportunity on that. Keep in mind, Jaron Curse was also a green dot, so I wonder if at some point Marquise Bell earns that opportunity as well.
Jim was asked about that. Jim was asked about that, and he said he doesn't believe in, because they asked him, they were like, Malik Hooker, he's so smart, he wore the green dot, and they were like, what do you prefer? Do you believe in the safeties? And he's like, no, I prefer my linebackers. He never wants the linebackers to be the green dot, because he's like, they're in the middle. They communicate with the front and the back. So I was like, that does make sense.
It makes to me it makes sense, but I wonder, going forward, like who is going to get that opportunity, because I don't think you see much of Damone Clark left in the rest of the season. So it'll be telling. I think.
Probably Maris. I mean, they said they're probably training him long term to be as far as being the green dot. So probably
Maris will probably get a lot of snaps. You got guys like Buddy Johnson, who looks good out there. Buddy Johnson.
And then Willie Harvey has some snaps as well, didn't he?
Willie Harvey will for sure be out there again. But then you also have Damian Wilson, Brock Morganson, Jason Johnson. Brock Morganson got that pick. Brock Morganson's issue is he's a downhill guy. He's not a going back guy. Because what people won't point out, that last minute touchdown, Brock Morganson was just sitting in the middle like, what do? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, he looks totally, but he got that pick, so it's like, but he's a guy you just want more coming forward. But you got Jason Johnson from, I think it's his name, from UCF. He got a sack. He was like one of the other people got a sack. So we have a good group of linebackers. And Mickey, I think you have pointed out in a previous show of like how the coaches are specifically Scott McCurley. People don't know he's the actual linebacker coach because Paul Gunther. But Scott McCurley was talking. Scott McCurley was talking about how he's so excited because he's like, our linebackers like are rushing, this year, and we didn't. He's like, our linebackers did not rush at all.
If you guys check out his latest interview, I did my latest show on that. You can just see the excitement because last year, you check out his interviews. Like McCurley is like, no, like no, almost I don't want to say no interest, but just completely monotone. But you see his interviews past few days, he's smiling, he's excited. Look, coming forward, we're actually playing base. We're actually having our 3 linebackers in the field. Like he was excited, y'all. Like he is just excited.
I think Zim has just saved so many lives. Like Zim and Paul Gunther, I feel like it's like a breath of fresh air to the players, to the coaches. They're like, just thank God. And it's no offense to Dan Quinn, but it just feels like, I don't know, the players and the coaches just seem just excited about Zim. Like they're like,
and they're learning. They're taking the information, and you can see it implemented on the field. That's the I almost say that's the difference, but. I mean, we see almost being instantaneous as soon as he came into camp, and just seeing the interceptions, the pass breakups, even if it's not a complete play, we're seeing pass breakups, from guys like Josh Butler, from guys like Josh DeBerry, not even just
Josh Butler had a hell of a game in that preseason game.
You see what I'm saying?
And nobody's talking about it, but he had a hell of a game in that preseason game. So
it's like not just the stars can be successful, but also the guys like Brock Mogensen, like Jason Johnson, who you don't always hear their name all the time, but for them to still have success, that's what it's about. It's about you guys about them having the team element for individual success. So you see guys like that come forward and making plays so that everyone can have not everyone had their shine, but everyone had their moment, but everyone is doing their part and that everyone can be successful.
Yeah, and what I feel like too is with Dan Quinn, one of my favorite Taylor Swift lyrics is familiarity breeds content, and it's true because I feel like to an extent the guys just got a little too comfortable under Deep Field. Look, that's fine. They were
say it again. What did they get, Jess? Say it again. What did you say?
They got content, and I think there's just 2 different coaching styles where it wasn't as challenging as it was, at first.
Exactly.
Like, what was Micah being challenged in? And a guy like Micah is really hard to challenge.
Jess preaching today. We got to give her some fire in the chat. Give her some fire signs.
Put some fire in the chat, y'all.
Like boxing and go do other things to like challenge himself. And so I feel like with a guy like Zim,
sumo and stuff.
I'm like, Micah boy, like
right.
but the thing is when you have a guy like Zim who's challenging you in new ways. And I saw people knocking the scheme. I'm like, guys, it's preseason. Like, nobody's fully showing what they have right now.
Right.
Exactly.
Zim wasn't even using a call sheet. Like, come on, he didn't go top of the dome. Like, come on, y'all.
I'm like, no. When you see
He
me
was
not dressed in like a suit,
exactly.
Right.
It's preseason. Like, we're not calling certain blitzes. Zim was like, I could have called this blitz, but I didn't.
Right.
Like, at the end of the day, like, they were getting too content with DQ, and that. Look, no knock to DQ. He's forever going to be one of my favorite coaches that I've ever gotten to cover. But I think it was time. It was time for him to go. I think he was kind of itching to go get a head coach position.
He was. Right he was.
Uh-huh. And like, that's fair. Like, he deserved a second chance. He earned that chance to be a head coach again in this league. He did. And I wish it wasn't in the NFC East. However.
Exactly. In trying to poach all our players and coaches. But
correct.
Correct.
Same thing.
Guys, especially the older guys, are going to get something out of Zim that they weren't getting out of DQ anymore. And that essentially is just like being challenged again in ways that even could go back to something as simple as like your technique. Like things that you don't realize you're like getting consenting places
right,
on
fundamentals.
Like,
Imagine that.
And these players are hungry for it. I remember
a little bit. Like
they're hungry for it.
Polish up. And as much
to always get better.
And they're like, I do this. I practice this. You do, but you're not practicing like you did your rookie season on the little things anymore. So I think that's a big strength of Mike and, the staff that he brought in, especially Zanina. Oh my gosh, Zanina.
Oh, Zanina.
Wow. I love that guy.
Mickey, we lost your camera, but Zanina is crazy. What did he say? He said something. He said, "Oh, good morning, guys." He said, "We're so tired of." He said, "We're so tired of doing absolutely nothing." He just started screaming.
He's nuts, and he like.
I love it though. That energy is what these guys need, though. Oh. They need the energy. They need They need critique because these players like Mozzie, like Mozzie, for example, you can tell he's building these guys' confidence.
Oh,
because you go to 2 weeks ago. Man. Mozzie, you saw the drills, and Mozzie kept getting his feet up, and Zagoni kept saying no again. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and now
it helps him,
right? And now you see a video. Mozzie did it. He said, "Yes, Mozzie, that's exactly." You can see like these players are getting. They just feel. I don't know. It just feels like a new life breathed into the players. And I guess, Jess, you've been with us. You've been rocking us for an hour 30 minutes. I'm like, I guess we should kind of try to like wrap it up.
I love it.
But this is awesome. We're so glad that you exactly. We I guess the good last question would be like, what are you kind of looking for? We have a preseason game versus the Raiders on Saturday. And it's a late game too.
It's a late game. Yeah.
I was like, why is it at 9 o'clock?
I need some coffee. Oh my god.
Exactly. But so what are some things that you think Cowboys Nation should kind of be looking out for? Or what are you looking out for in this preseason game?
I think one of the bigger things to keep an eye on, obviously, is Trey Lance. We talked about that earlier.
Clearly,
but let's assess him from last week to this week and see if anything has improved. Like, I'm talking
not anything.
No, I'm serious. I'm like
passing, rolling out of the pocket without panicking, like
seeing the field. Like, let's just see if we can build off of.
Panicking when your first check isn't open, like letting receivers get to their routes and run their routes. Like, I want to see a
dang, Jess is talking ball because everything she pointed out, she didn't see that video, and that's the same thing J.O.T. Sullivan was saying. Like, Trey, you're not even letting guys get out of their breaks before you look at somewhere else.
Like I know he's going there. I'm gonna throw. I'm like, let him get there. Like, And look, it'll come with time. I'm manifesting for Trey Lance. It's coming with time. But I want to see, keeping a close eye on Trey Lance. Like, improve, period. Mm-hmm. Like, across the board.
Improve.
You cannot have another preseason game like that. And I only say that confidence-wise because if I'm Trey Lance and I already struggle with confidence issues and, the anxiety of playing, it's not going to get better if you have 2 bad games. Like,
that's right.
He has to do better for himself, and that's that goes across the board.
That's a key point. He has to do better for himself.
He
like,
does.
because that was not.
It's not for the backup quarterback position. At this point, you have to show yourself, like, I earned this. Imposter syndrome. We just talked about that earlier in aspects of all of us. Like, he has to go through that and kind of maneuver through that, and he has to do it quickly. So, keeping an eye on. Running back room. Again, I'm interested to see. I don't think you see Zeke. I don't think you see Rico this week. So I want to see more of Steve Connor. I also want to see Deuce Vaughn, if he's going to be active or not. So kind of want to see what a year under Deuce's belt has done for him in a game time situation. As far as receivers, look, I think this is going to be so week to week. Like, truly, I feel like this receiver room, somebody that surprised me last week was Gracie McNabb for not having a great game and dropping passes.
Yeah. Flournoy shocked me too. I was like, I don't know what was going on with them, but they had a bad game.
Consistent receiver OTAs.
So I don't know what was going on.
He actually is somebody that caught my eye in OTAs because after every play he had, he would go ask Jack, he would go ask Brandon, he would go ask like any coach around him, like, what can I do to get better? To the point where I was like, man, this guy is just like hungry, like he wants it. So I pulled him aside to be like, what are you asking them? Like, what kind of questions do you have? And he's like, I'm asking like every little thing I can, like, what could I have done better on this route, or what could I have done better with my hands? Like, this guy, do not sleep on him, because although
I was surprised to see him come back at the Rams practice and actually catch so many passes, because I was like, well, he was out, he missed a few practices, is he really going to show anything? And I was surprised to see him get some passes in the joint practice. And even though he made some mistakes in the game, he did catch some passes, so I'm still excited to see what he can still show. I'm very excited to see Flournoy.
Man, he's the guy that I'm rooting for, because I'm like, any guy that wants to be coached to that extent, to where like almost annoying, you're like, stop asking questions, but those are the ones that want it the most, truly. I am not going to ever like
count him out.
Tight ends.
That's another guy that I'm like, man, I'm upset for him, because he's been eye-catching Gracie McNabb throughout all like
because he had a great early camp. He was like one of the first few names.
And Trey was actually throwing TDs to him at camp. So
we talked about that story. I think it was Racy and Jalen that was supposed to have a connection with Trey during preseason, and he dropped those two passes. I was surprised.
I think you'll see it on Saturday. As for tight end, my favorite room.
No chance. Like, you gotta come back. You gotta come back on, Jess, because we gotta have a show on tight ends. Just period.
That's my favorite room. They're so
yes, me too.
John Stevens Jr. Like, I want to
get him more touches in this game. I was like, we only turned him like 2 times. Like, what happened to tackle middle field?
You have to remember he's in a ramp up from the ACL.
You're right. You're right. I forgot about that.
Even Demarion, they're all on pitch count.
You're right. I forgot about that. Okay.
Well, it's because he looks great coming back from injury.
Right.
And even today in practice, they say he went home with like a hip stinger or something. I'm like, calm down. We need you. We need you, Demarion.
Stay healthy.
We need you, Demo. Calm down.
Brevin. He had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Alec Holler, I feel like he's another guy that is just.
Did he play at all? I don't think I saw
enough. Where I'm like,
I saw a fan, but I didn't see Holler. Yeah.
We'll keep an eye on that. Peyton Hendershot, I'm not sure if he'll play or not. I'm not sure if he's still dealing with injury.
I think he done, Jess.
But he has these last 2 games. If he's cleared,
like literally,
Jess, he's not practicing again. I'm like, he's literally not practicing again.
He's missing more time than Schoon. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, your one advantage may have been Schoonmaker, but now you're missing more than Schoon, bro.
I get frustrated with that for him, because
truly, especially the year he had with Ferguson.
Well, he walked into camp last year, tight end too, and then a couple weeks in, you're like, well,
and like they were saying they think his confidence got shot, because were like, they expected him, it was Fergie. What would they call Hendy Ferg or whatever?
Yeah, it was like the Horseman or something like that,
right? And then all of a sudden they drafted Schoonmaker, and they said when they drafted Schoonmaker, they think that shot his confidence down, because he's like, oh, I thought I was tight end too, but when you draft a tight end that high, it's like
it's hard. I will say though, Peyton, yeah, it's a
We don't
confidence.
know. Yeah.
We'll see. Offensive line, I'm just going down the list here. I want to see more of Cooper Beebe at center, and especially like with how low your tackle depth is now, because it did look like who got cut off today.
Yeah, Boston.
Boston got cut off.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, like
so we lost two backup tackles in one week. So they
literally a couple days,
and they signed another guy. And what's crazy is like we're having to just throw guys out there. You know, like usually when you just bring somebody in, you kind of like ramp them up.
Right.
There's like no ramp up period. It's like get out there, you're playing. Like okay,
so even with Huggins and even with Nick Vigil they brought in and Darius Harris, they said they got right into practice like the next day they came in. So
now it's gonna kind of fall on Nathan Thomas, Awesome Richards. I need to see more from Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please, Awesome. Like to me, it's frustrating because I'm like, why do I just feel like you have no like enthusiasm? Like the play starts, it doesn't go your way, and then that's it. He's just kind of like defeated in that. So I feel like it's also a confidence game for him as well. So I want to see that. Josh Ball, who we know what we're getting with Josh Ball, Matt Waletzko, like his size.
Matt Waletzko struggled a lot. I thought he was doing good, and then he hit the struggle bus. Awesome. I liked what I saw from Awesome. Awesome just needs some more nastiness to him.
I feel like
he actually looked pretty decent, like at guard, but it's just like the power wasn't there. So you got to see more of that from him.
Man, the thing about Waletzko too is he's coming off of that shoulder injury from last year, and it kind of I feel like
that man done had a shoulder injury since 2022.
Well,
it was like both shoulders, wasn't it? It was both shoulders.
He separated at these.
It's genetic. It's the way his I want to say he's double jointed or something in his shoulder.
Oh, okay.
And so that it makes it more susceptible to injury.
What?
Yeah, I want to say it's double jointed, but it's something to do with like his genetics to why he shoulder injuries, which sucks.
I mean,
at this point, bro. I mean, I ain't telling nobody what to do, but if it's genetic.
I feel like we talk about these tackles. Isn't that all more reason to be a little bit balanced, Mike? Like, let's maybe not throw it 41 times, considering that, like, you got to give Trey a chance.
These guys for the longevity.
Right.
So maybe let's not throw it 41 times. Just drop back, because you're gonna probably get Trey killed.
Yeah.
If you just do that
behind, let's go or a ball. You know what I'm saying?
Ball is a guard. Ball is a guard. I don't even know.
Right? Like why?
Why did y'all put him at left tackle? That was crazy.
On this depth chart I'm looking at, this roster by position.
That's scary.
Too. So
he's definitely not a tackle, sis. We had to move him to guard, and he played the game of his life.
But you also know what you're getting from Josh Ball, which is not up to standard with what needing. Like
right. But you don't want to see him at tackle at all. Like if that's all we got, I'd rather you sign a tackle like they just did from the U.S. Just sign a guy off the streets than have Josh Ball, because you know he's not a tackle.
You know what you're getting.
And he's gonna get murdered.
Sorry, I'm trying. I don't.
You're trying to go through this thing.
D-line, obviously, I want to see more of Mozzie. Like I feel like he's on his up and up, and I'm so damn proud of him because let me just say,
he fought hard.
I'm so sick of people being like, why are they saying I'm like down in the dumps? I'm not. Like I'm coming back from my injury.
Wow, she said
I'll go back.
That's a good point there, Jess, because I think a lot of people do think like Mozzie suffers from depression. That's been the rumor. He suffers from depression and he doesn't have confidence and all this crazy stuff. He sucks.
I talked to him, he's like, why does everyone keep asking if I'm okay? Like, geez, And I'm like,
who put out that rumor? Somebody put out that rumor. One of the radio guys. I don't know who it was, but anyway.
I've been saying it since I talked to him about it. Like, he's not down in the dumps. In fact, he's ready to go.
Like, I'm ready to play.
He was ready to put the weight back on in a healthy way post-injury. Like, the conversation we had was putting the weight back on in a healthy way. And,
after the shoulder.
Doing it in a way that doesn't.
So you think that he did put it? Because some people were like, maybe he had to put it on unhealthily because he put it on so fast. But Mozzie saying, "Nah, I put it on healthy. Like I made it an emphasis to put it on healthily." Okay,
I believe him because he laid out the plan for me pre in OTAs. Like they had a plan set and they knew, and he's
what he needed to do.
Yeah, I mean that's what you and Big were talking about on your show the other night, Star, about them taking it step by step. With Mozzie, like you said, they first wanted to work on the hands, and like just like you said, working on the diet,
step by step, basic by basic, and obviously the way that they've done it. It really has built up Mozzie's confidence. Now we're just looking for somebody to. Now, granted, Mozzie's going to look better because he's going to have Osa next to him. So he's going to look way better. But you still want somebody that can come out and relieve Chauncey. Chauncey looked great in this first preseason game. Yeah. I don't even know if you've seen him. Yeah, I'm like, I don't think we've seen him. I think he's a roster lock.
Yeah. Bubble wrap Chauncey, you need him.
You need
both. I'm like,
you need them. We don't want to see them.
Like,
correct.
It's just preseason, y'all. I don't want to see them anymore.
I agree with that.
Linebackers, obviously, as much as I'm like chomping at the bit to see more of Demo, I don't want to see any more of him either.
No more Demo because we can't afford for him to get hurt again.
Such a gem. Like, there's just some people in this.
I could even see from his energy in the first game. I'm like, man, he's coming out so ramped up. Like he's just so, and I love that. But at the same time, it's like I'm glad they're taking
down. He got to slow down.
I'm glad they're taking it slow and smart with those two.
Demo, gem of a human, gem of a player. Excited for Demo.
Absolutely.
So really, I mean, the linebacker core, I'm not too worried about.
Yeah, me either.
Kind of going down the list. We're not going to see Trayvon. I doubt we see any more Marquise. Let's see, Izzy.
What about
I feel like Izzy's dealing with injury right now, though.
Yeah,
Izzy was back in pass today, though. He was practicing.
I was gonna say it depends if he practiced today or not.
Yeah, he was back in
pass.
pass.
I also feel like I need to see a little more of Eric Scott because he had a great game, but I see some red flags with some potential discipline issues that I don't like.
Yeah.
Like, and it's
the big play gets him a lot.
He's chasing the big play. That's the problem with guys like Eric Scott, who's like trying to prove himself. Which,
and you're trying to prove yourself, and you're missing like that big play where he just didn't tackle the guy. It was like that's not gonna work. And that was a knock that I had on him coming out of college. Like, this guy don't want to tackle nobody, and that was kind of disturbing. So hopefully he has a better game, because they was kind of picking on him. I feel like a little bit.
So Josina Anderson just tweeted.
Yeah, to see what Stephen King said.
I'm told the Cowboys are trading for Giants D-line or defensive lineman Jordan Phillips per source, but I don't know. Like, that's all her.
What?
That's all her tweets.
I saw Jess's lips go. Jill, I thought she was going to say Jonathan Allen. I'm like, Jonathan, but
you're like
Jordan.
Yeah, it says I'm told the Cowboys are trading for Giants DL Jordan Phillips. Yeah, you right.
Yeah, Jordy,
really?
Yep, Clarence just put it out. They are making a trade with the Giants.
Shout out to Stephen Carroll coming through. Thank you for helping us out with that.
So it looks like a Cowboys sent a 6th. Giants get a 7th in 2026 so far. That's what I'm reading.
Wow.
Let me see if I can pull it up.
Jordan Phillips, what's his film?
Giants get a 7th in the 2026. So they traded for draft picks.
You said it was Josina, Miss Jess?
Josina tweeted.
Yeah, Josina and Clarence just put it out too.
And then Jory also.
Let me see if I can bring it up right quick for y'all, so I can bring it on the screen.
Rico, he said, well, Chauncey, yes. Chauncey is returning back. He can play inside because Zim said that they're still gonna play him inside a little bit on pass rushing downs, but Chauncey is returning back to his true position, DE. They said that they feel like he's best there. And Mickey also with Fahoko, they said Fajoko's gonna play DE because they said he's not a DP.
That's what I love, and I'm so glad he said that. That's what I loved about Zimmer's press conference. He went through each player like that was he was asked about, said what they did well, said what they didn't do well, and actually said, okay, we're gonna work with this guy, find their strengths/weaknesses, and let them improve on what they do better instead of just trying to force them into a system that doesn't work for them. You know what I mean?
Right,
he's so cut and dry.
These guys, I love that.
So to the point about it, like, and he's not trying to. What's the word? He's not trying to put them down in how he does it either.
Right, exactly.
All right, let's see.
You guys can see on the screen. Yeah, Jordan Phillips.
Nice.
How old is this guy? Let me see. Jordan Phillips. Pro Football Reference.
I always love when you trade inside the NFC. Like obviously everybody has like ins and outs of everybody.
Oh, he's a big guy. 341.
Like,
oh, word?
He's 341 pounds. Jesus.
See if you can share the screen.
Hold on, I'll share it. Let me see.
He's 31. So
okay, a little bit seasoned. He's basically our new Jonathan Hankins, but bigger.
But you need that. I was gonna say, without a Hank, you need that because you would be shocked at how much Jonathan Hankins helped the progression of even a guy like Mozzie, like being encouraging in the fact that like, hey, this DT position, it's hard as hell. And it took Jonathan Hankins, when I asked him, like, how long did it take for you to get it? He's like, honestly, it took me until probably my 3rd year in the league to just get it. Like, and I understood.
Okay, so it was with Miami.
That's good.
Then he went to Buffalo, Arizona, Buffalo. Okay.
Buffalo, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Rico. He said Huggins must be out of there. Yeah, they wouldn't.
Huggins looked bad. He looked bad in that game. I'm not gonna lie. I did think he wrapped up, but from that stunt he pulled today, I think the coaches were pissed off about it. So he's probably gonna be cut, to be honest.
I'd like to think that the front office heard us in this entire episode being like, right.
They sure did. Exactly.
And they were like, I'm on it, girls. Like,
the front office, Stephen Jones, what a star, and Jess and Nikki said.
Y'all are so welcome, man.
You welcome, front office. You welcome.
Right, for real
Tackles for loss. He can get QB. I kind of like this guy. I know he's kind of
QB hits 5. That's a 5 QB hits.
Yeah, he's got 5. He had 5 QB hits last year.
Good.
2 tackles for loss.
Okay, so we gets back there. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, let me not. Y'all know I'm not trying to drink too. I'm not gonna drink the Kool-Aid.
Right.
But
I will say, the injury history looks.
So that's maybe why he's been.
It looks decent for being like a more veteran player. He only had a knee injury. Well, he was questionable with a knee injury in week 11 last year. And then everything else goes back to 2022 when he was dealing with shoulder injury, hamstring injury, 2021 a knee injury. So it kind of seems like a reoccurring knee thing and a hamstring issue that could be a problem.
That could derail him. But if you're only giving him limited snaps paired with Mozzie, he's obviously a one-tech. He's 340.
Yep. Yeah. And I will say too, like the way that Mike McCarthy is so smart with how he ramps guys up and how he operates with veteran rest days and everything in between. Like he puts players' health and safety first. So I feel like this could be a good fit as well. So that's exciting.
It is.
Yeah, that is exciting.
Make a move. Like you said, I don't know if he's out of there, but for them to make a move the same day, at least they're being proactive in some sort of way. I like to see that instead of waiting the week before the season starts or all that. You know what I mean? Wow, that's interesting. That's good news. So far to see they're making. Because that's definitely. I don't want to see that again. I don't want to see us being, gashed, 10, 15 yards at a time, like teams buy, he just came from Buffalo. Was he on Buffalo? Did you say he was on there last season?
No, he was. Yes, he was with Buffalo last season.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So I guess we faced them. I don't know if he played, but I guess we faced them last season. But yeah, teams like Buffalo and even week 1 with Cleveland. I don't know if Chubb is going to be back for week 1 per se, but running teams we know that we're going to face the first few weeks of the NFL season. That's something we have to plug up ASAP.
So funny. J Tuck tweeted, could have just resigned Hankins and saved ourselves the headache all off season, but like.
They said Hank didn't want to come back with us. I don't know what Dirty did because people were thinking it was the money, and Clarence Hill was like, it was not the money. They were like, Hankins didn't want to come back. He wanted to follow Dirty to the Seahawks. Which, when you think about getting coached by McDonald, who is a defensive guru, him and D'Amico Ryans are like the new upcoming defensive head coaches. I can see why you would want to go there.
And I feel like for Hank too, it's a point in his career where he can be picky. You know what I mean? Like, you know what your role is going to be with the Cowboys. You've been there, done that. And honestly, it could have changed a lot under this Mike Zimmer system. Like, he's still needed, obviously. But maybe that kind of played a factor in it. But what I will say about Hank is solid dude on and off the field.
Very good dude,
a bucket of knowledge. Holy cow. Like, the things that that man can teach a younger veteran about being a genuine nose tackle is just so valuable. So even the little nuggets that he gave Mozzie, like Mozzie's going to carry throughout the course of his career because it was just so valuable to work with him.
Right.
It's good to get another veteran present,
and that's what I was gonna say. That's a good because
and
when
takes the weight off of Mozzie.
It takes the weight off of Mozzie, and now you have a veteran that can mold Mozzie. We do good with that with bringing in these older vets that can come in. Brandon Cooks, Stephon Gilmore, Jason Peters when we had him here, that can Kendricks that can come in here and mold these young guys. I like the signing. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a one tech. He's not flashy. He's not. But he's 31. He's not like he's 30. People were talking about go get Linval Joseph. I'm like, Linval Joseph is 5 years away from 40. He's old. Like he's old. So
man, people talk about 31 being old in football age. I'm like, can you stop it? Like that's rude.
You're old.
I'm like,
football age is so weird. They're like, he's old. He's 30 now. He's he's 35. I'm like, that's not old. Like,
I'm gonna be 29 here pretty soon. Am I decrepit to you? Like, geez.
Hold up now, y'all. See now, y'all bringing out numbers now. Y'all numbers now, y'all. Come on.
I guess I shouldn't age myself. I'm still technically 20. So there we go.
Oh my God. But anyway, well, this was a great show. Linval's 147 years old.
Jeez, I might as well be. Like 31, so old in the NFL.
Oldie.
300 at this point, God.
The young kids, the Gen Zers are talking about when you turn 30, your life's over. I'm like,
I'm like, that's when it turns up. You know, me, all my 30s, and I'll give you. I'm only not even halfway through. My 30s is lit. I'll take my 30s over 20s any day, and I'll take it.
That's so funny.
About whatever other people think about you, that frontal lobe is developed, so you make better decisions. Hopefully,
Yeah, hopefully. Anyway, well, guys, this was an amazing show.
Yeah.
Y'all put stars in the chat. Put claps in the chat for Miss Jess rocking with us. She rocked with us for 2 hours. We ain't never had no guest stay with us this long.
Okay, and trying to come back on with us. Okay.
I'm telling you. Like, I used to get in trouble at school for talking too much, and I'm like, I'll use it one day. And sure enough, the professional yapping, like,
exactly. Right. So this was awesome. Jess, you can tell them like where they can find you.
They were asking in the chat earlier where they can follow you and where they can find your platforms.
Oh yeah. So at Jess Nevarez _ on Instagram and Twitter. And right now I'm just doing Girls Talk, Boys Talk. So we're on a little bit of a weird off-season schedule that'll get more consistent once everybody gets back from camp. So that's good. In the meantime, just check on Twitter what I'm up to. I may or may not have some tricks up my sleeve coming soon. So just keep an eye on that. I'll always keep you guys posted on Twitter. So that's probably like the best way to keep up with my yapping. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, facts. Carl Whittington, your 30s are better than your 20s because you have money. That's
exactly. That's absolutely true.
Please build y'all money up so y'all can.
I was broke. I mean, I'm still in my 20s, but I'm gonna be out of it in December, and I was dirt broke. Going through.
That's when you build character, though. You build character in those.
Going through undergrad, law school, I was broke as a joke. But thank God for my 30s. You know what I'm saying? Thank God for increase. Thank you, Jesus.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you everybody coming through with our show, spending your time with Miss Jess Nevarez, just giving her giving us some of us her time. We know we have a busy schedule during training camp, things like that, but we really appreciate you coming through. Everybody in the chat who came through: Rico Jones, L. Kelvin Hicks,
Nisi, Stephen Carroll. I mean, all of you guys, we appreciate you. Tyrone Church, Beat by Money. I don't think I ever seen you, but just appreciate Nisi. David, my guy David, all of you guys, thank you so much for rocking with us. Remind everybody, I'm going to remind y'all that I am doing StarGazers sweepstakes. I am giving away Madden 25, College Football 25, or a $75 Visa gift card. All you got to do to get an entry is subscribe to my YouTube channel and send me an email confirming that you did that. You can see that information on my Twitter. It is a pinned post. You can see it on my YouTube, which is Stargazer Sports as well. It's one of my short videos, but it's also pinned on Twitter. So y'all check it out on there. But anyway, thank you guys so much. I think we done.
Yeah. Make sure you guys follow. Like I said, follow all platforms. Follow me, Instagram, Twitter, /X, or whatever you guys calling it, Facebook, YouTube, of course. If you guys kicking in with us tonight, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Miss Jess, for coming through. And you definitely gotta come back. We definitely get your information.
Right.
And make sure you guys just keep your notifications on. We definitely bringing her back. We bringing her back.
We definitely bringing her.
Look, y'all,
definitely bringing
Jess back. You let me know. I love yapping. One thing about me,
right.
yap.
Honestly, I've been thinking about something behind the scenes that I'm gonna try to bring up to everybody, but I'm not gonna say it right now. But anyway, thank you guys so much for rocking with us tonight. Y'all have a great night. I love you guys, and hopefully we can see you guys next Wednesday.
Yes, appreciate y'all. Keep your notifications on. We'll see y'all.
Bye.